this chapter, okay? And this gets into another disease you probably have heard about, called mononucleosis, right? Infectious mononucleosis. This is caused by Epstein-Barr virus. So this is a viral disease, EBV. Probably a lot of you have been exposed to this virus. Okay. When it does cause illness, it causes fatigue, fever, sore throat, enlargement of lymph nodes. Okay. People who get this may often be out for a couple weeks. Okay. However, most of the infections are asymptomatic. Right? So many of us have been exposed to this and didn't really know that we had this disease or had this infection. And it's actually a very common infection in the United States. So 95% above 30 years of age, we show antibodies to EBV. If you show antibodies to EBV, have you been exposed to it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's why. That's meaning that your immune system had to fight it off. Okay. So probably a lot of us have already been exposed to this. Now there are other conditions that can result from this, more serious conditions, and we'll take a look at that. There's a disease condition called hemoleucoplakia. There's another one called Burkitt's lymphoma. And because this virus actually infects cells in our immune system, or it infects B cells, it's often the extent to which it causes disease often reflects the state of our immune system. Okay, so if you have a really strong immune system or a really weak immune system, that affects what kind of disease outcome you get from an EBV infection. The way it's transmitted is through saliva. So some of you may know that with mononucleosis, right? It's kissing disease. It's one term. You're not supposed to share glasses when you're drinking. Okay, and that's the reason. This is the reason. This is where that comes from. It comes from the fact that it's transmitted through saliva. Okay. The reason why is the virus infects the throat and also infects the salivary glands. It actually causes swelling. Okay. So it spreads the lymph nodes, and it infects B cells. And because it infects B cells, it depends on our host. It's very dependent, the disease is very dependent on what the state of our cellular immunity is like. So there's a different disease outcome if you have a strong immune system, a really strong immune system, versus a normal immune system, versus a poor immune system, versus one where you're totally lacking, or you're immunodeficient. Okay? So there's a figure in your book, an illustration in your book, which shows this, what happens. So this is classic infectious mononucleosis. So this is what you see in the United States, people who do have this disease, who do get mononucleosis. What happens is that B cells get infected, and in the act of our trying to defeat the infection, we start showing conditions. We start showing symptoms of mononucleosis. Okay. If you have a normal immune response, right, you'd be asymptomatic. Okay. If you have a poor immune response, the B cells can actually become somewhat, almost like a cancer or tumor, and start to form these growths. Right, so it's called Burkitt's lymphoma. Okay. And if you have no immune system, you get these abnormal growths. So this is called hemoleucoplakia, where you see these hair-like projections growing out of your tongue. All right. So these are different outcomes reflecting on the state of your immune system. All right. Any questions about that? Okay, so now we're going to move on to the respiratory system. So we're going to start this today, and then we'll get more into it next week. Respiratory infections. So this is the most common form of disease.